Hello and welcome back to Metanauts. In this episode, I'm talking to Process Smith about his recent foray into the NFT space from a street art background. Now, he's recently sold 8,000 Dirpy Birbs in one night and has released some one-of-one NFTs on the First Dibs platform, so he's off to a flying start in the NFT space, and now we're going to find out what that's been like for him. So before we get into NFTs, tell me a little bit about your background as an artist.
Yeah. First picked up a can of spray paint in like '95. I spent years just kind of, riding around on a BMX and a skateboard, just finding spots in, derelict abandoned buildings, urban exploring, I guess, called now. Just finding places to paint. I kind of transitioned from graffiti into kind of a more of a street art thing. After a while, I got kind of like bored with the kind of the rules and structure around graffiti, a lot.
It's got its own sort of culture, hasn't it, and expectations, and then you've got the turf wars and that sort of stuff.
I loved all of it. Like I was down for all of it, but there was certain elements of it that I felt didn't fit me. So I just kind of like tried to walk my own path with it. And I guess that kind of like formed into kind of like I say, more of a kind of street art vibe.
That's like, there's been like 20 years now where street art and graffiti have kind of been these two separate things. Those outside of anything like that don't see the difference. They think anything that's a mural is vandalism or whatever. But when you see, street art is accepted. I mean, long before even Banksy, it was accepted as an art form, but now it's prevalent everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's always like these, lettering especially, you can't separate them completely. There will always be graffiti and street art.
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that separate like graffiti with a capital G from street art proper, I guess, is that, graffiti, as I say, as the graffiti culture, it has a very specific set of rules. Like there's a formula, there's a system to it, and that's protected by the people that operate in that, and like rightly so. I felt like an outsider in the graffiti world. I feel like an outsider in the street art world. I always feel like an outsider everywhere I go, like within the different art forms and things that I've done, because it's not just those. I moved on to worked in community settings, like doing music and art festivals. Ran a community centre for a number of years. So like poetry stuff that we did there. I've done performance art, I've worked in theatre settings, doing prop and stage, and, a whole host of stuff, as well as like workshops and, teaching children, disadvantaged young people, and all sorts. So I've always seen all of those different things as like art forms and expressions of art, because you're making and building the whole time.
So you mentioned prop design there. Did that feed into your Concrete Soul exhibition that I saw a number of years back?
Yeah, man. Well, that the Concrete Soul thing is really like, that was something I've wanted to do, something kind of on that scale, and with that kind of the solid sculptural form. It was half of it was kind of conceptual, and so it was a mix of what's going on there. But yeah, and then the lovely thing about Concrete Soul, right, was it was a deconstruction and reimagining of the graffiti culture and street art culture, and the norms and the rules, the etiquettes and the tools and the materials, and also of skateboard culture. So it was kind of like Concrete Soul was kind of like an expression of kind of my life up to that point, and all my interactions with the urban environment and these different urban art forms and all those things that I'd like. Just all those little moments. So a lot of my artwork kind of I imagine is happens kind of in between, space in between things.
I see that.
And
your floating characters are like mid fall or jump, or you're suspended in space, but in a moment.
Yeah. They're absolutely, and that's interesting. That whole float and drift character work you're speaking of there. I've always thought about that as that moment that you're about to launch off a massive set of stairs on your skateboard, and you've passed that point of no return. You've committed to jumping off that step. You've popped up, and you're just in that moment, just where there's like a fraction of a second where there's like this this stillness and your brain's kind of calculating, am I going to land this? Is everything in the right? And then it just goes again. You land on the floor.
Time does slow down in those moments, doesn't it? Like it really does. That made me think about diving into a new space, like the NFT space. And I wondered what your reaction, relatively new to the space, aren't you? What your reaction to that has been and how you feel about it.
I mean, did we use the word overwhelming earlier? It is. Yeah, it's overwhelming, man. I mean, I kind of came into the NFT space like February this year. I spent 2 weeks looking through all of my sketchbook and all of my previous work and just having just a non-stop just torrent of completely reimagining and all of this stuff. It's so many pieces that were in the sketchbook and thoughts that were on a bit of paper and stuff that never went anywhere. And suddenly I'm like, I know what to do with this now.
So you did your Genesis piece on Rarible, a small edition?
That's right,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just did a digital version of a physical piece, and the physical piece itself was, it came from the Concrete Soul show, and it was a limited edition set of 10 laser cut, hand painted, kind of mini assemblages pieces. So I had that artwork kind of ready as vectors, and so I kind of did a really subtle kind of animation and reimagining of it. And I did that as a 10 of 10. Kind of, I thought it was a neat kind of compliment as a transition from the last thing I did in the physical world. Here it is kind of reimagined for the digital, for the NFT space. And so that was the first thing I did. And then I spent the next like 4 months just going around in circles trying to figure out what it was I was going to do. I had so many ideas.
Well, then you just thought you'd make 8,000 birds.
Well, no.
How did that come about?
That was a total accident. That was a misunderstanding that got out of hand. The reason Birbs came about was because the whole time I was talking about, what I was not knowing what it was I was going to NFT. I was in this forum for a token on the Ethereum blockchain, 0x Bitcoin, right? So I'm just in there, and there's a bunch of smart people in there all talking about. So I'm learning about cryptocurrency in Discord. So I thought if I just lurk here and occasionally, sort of ask a question or whatever, that will somehow be good. It was funny. So they'd said in there because this token itself is the kind of the whole point of it is it's clever, it's really smart, it's got all this great fundamentals, blah 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 blah. And the joke was there at the time was, great, you can be the smartest thing, you can be the best, safest, secure, whatever it was. That don't matter. You haven't got a dog face. No one's going to buy it.
Right, yeah. If there's no meme attached to this coin, it's not going anywhere.
So anyway, so they made this joke, maybe we should just wrap this token up as some kind of meme thingy, add some zeros to it, and then we'll do an atomic swap, and it'll be basically people are buying this one thing, but it's been marketed as this meme coin. And they said, oh, what animal's not been done yet? Oh, birds. We'll do stupid, but we'll call it Birbs, right? We'll call it Birb token. And I said,
I draw birds.
I've drawn them for years. They're part of it's an interesting story where they come from, actually. It was part of a research project, actually, in Peterborough about fen history and stuff. And so I started drawing these Birbs as part of a street art project to kind of represent kind of place and identity and sort of stuff. But anyway, so I said, oh yeah, draw these little simple bird characters. I'll do some for your website because you're going to need some cartoons to sell this, right? It wasn't really a serious thing. They got drunk and I thought it would be funny to do it. So anyway, I showed them this thing. We had a few chats back and forward on the Discord. I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding about it being done as NFTs. I was like, oh no, it's just for a logo. And then there was another misunderstanding about it being a generative NFT. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And then someone else was like, I do. I've just done it. I've just done treasures. So the developers that I spoke to, and I've been sort of speaking, just casually chatting with them for the last few months, and they'd done this project Treasures, so they knew how to do it all, and there you go. You just got
the iPad out, started.
Well, yeah, we just started chatting. So should we do it? And I was like, oh God, wait, it's happening. Oh, we're doing it. I was like, oh right, and then it was just kept drawing for like 6 weeks, and then Birbs happened, man.
Yeah, cool. So you had someone there to deal with all the all the tokenomics and all the crypto side of things and the smart contracts. So your task at that point was then just to come up with some sort of base character, vague sort of shape or family of creatures.
Well, I'd already drawn like about 4 sheets of concept art of like
for the logo thing,
of like 20 different types of birds, as like all weird as I could make them, just because just to see what they thought, whatever. And yeah, the developer Pablo, he kind of fell in love with the artwork. Everyone said this is great, and it was, so it kind of went from there.
So you create sort of like this base template, and then a ton of different assets. You've got to go through that process of thinking about all of these different ways of making something that is fun and diverse and surprising, but also isn't just doing what the other PFP projects are doing.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it, and it was really well timed, and it was received. Because I wanted to get some, and you said to me, "Don't worry, it's going to take about a week to sell. Like we're not doing any marketing.
I had no money.
There's only a couple of us. We're not doing any marketing at all, so don't worry about it." And so I went out for the night, came back, got up the next morning, get myself some birds, and they were gone.
Bro, we couldn't afford the gas to pay to mint the contract. But also we didn't want to do like the hype thing, because we didn't want to hype something beyond our capacity to deliver, and then it just got out of hand, got away from us. There it is.
It was about 3 hours, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it went in 3 hours. Yeah. I mean, even before Pranksy got on, it started snowballing. I think it's just as soon as the artwork came out and people started seeing the reveal, because it's an instant reveal. Yeah, I think people were just like, oh, this is different. This is, and it got shared, and then because it was Saturday night, it was well timed. I think there was a lot of projects minting that night, so we had a kind of the audience was there waiting to buy something, and then this thing just kind of got out, and then obviously when some of the like Pranksy and 888 kind of saw it and brought in total surprise to us, like. And I think that's what then just like sealed the deal, really.
So what you'd had is 6 weeks, 7 weeks of hard graft, long days, trying to get all of these assets out, and then in a few hours they're gone. Yeah. What was that? That must have been a pretty crazy night.
Yeah, it's surreal. Like I'm saying, I'm just looking at the screen. I'm going, what's going on here? Like,
and secondary was on fire as well.
Yeah, and they just secondary on, like within 24 hours we had somebody like sell one of these things for 19.9 ETH. At the time that's like over $70,000, man. Yeah. Within 24, and I was just like,
all of that had happened by the time I got up hungover the next day to get my first bird.
I mean, it was a good looking bird, right? But like it was a really cool smoke body with like the kind of cool like laser eyes, thing. And had a little bird on its, another little burb on its head, like a small one. So it looked really neat. I mean, they all look great. Like there's a ridiculous number of traits in that collection. So that's why they all have so much of their own personality and character. There's over 200 and something traits.
The beautiful thing you've got with a project like this is it is a long-term project. It's led by you, but also the community and the rest of the team are influencing it. And you've got this excellent egg mechanism, this breeding mechanism that allows you to have like tiers of releases gradually getting smaller and changing over time into something else that obviously you can visualize. You wouldn't want to like ruin any surprises, I know. But can you tell us a little bit about like, give us a taste of how, what are these, what's flashing up in your head, and what sort of sketches have you got, or anything you can share where the Derpy Birbs are heading?
Before I answer that question, can I just quickly loop back just to say, obviously I'm leading on the creative aspect of Derpy Birbs, but it is a collaboration between the developers and myself. Like that's, they don't create my vision. We're working together to build a vision, because they're very clever and talented people. And
the drop was perfect. It's seamless,
flawless, man.
Everyone was raving about how well it was orchestrated.
These guys up there, they're hard workers, man, and they're smart. They're really good guys. Yeah, so it is a collaboration between the art and the technology and what we can do when we work together to create, we talk about these mechanisms for breeding. I can talk to you about kind of like the concept for it actually, rather than the aesthetic.
So you as long as you've got two burbs, you can breed them. You can choose which of your two to breed. The traits carry through to an egg, and that's where we are at the moment. Yeah,
well, at the minute we've just released the breeding mechanism. There's kind of like it's kind of split. So the parents, you've got like a chance of the offspring inheriting the body type of either parent or the body type of like a new variant that's like exclusive to the next generation. And then all the other traits, like, the either beaks, like the clothing, the rarity value of all of that is then summed. And then that rarity value is applied to the offspring. So visually, it may or may not look similar to the parents.
Yeah.
But in terms of its rarity, it's highly likely to be as rare as the parents.
So there's room for surprises as well.
There is, because there's an element of chance, and it's a small percentage. But, for instance, if you've got two common burbs that aren't particularly rare, there is a small percentage chance that those two will produce an offspring which is much rarer than the parents were. So we've got a kind of a redistribution mechanic as well. It's not really heavy or anything. So if you've got rare burbs, you're not going to lose out. But we do have a bit of a redistribution just to kind of like turn it over. Because we don't just want like whales to, as nice as that is, to just come and just have all the top and the best stuff as they go along.
A little bit of rebalancing.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Cool. So that's a pretty epic long-term project you've got there.
Yeah.
But you want to try and fit in other NFTs on other platforms and do other things at the same time, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why we've kind of said about the schedule being, we'll do the eggs, and then we've got the 2 months for Gen 2. We haven't really set a delivery schedule beyond that for Birbs. And that's just because people have to do other things. Obviously I've done the first dibs as well, which I created whilst I was making the artwork for Birbs.
Well done.
And whilst I was actually like helping restore a mural here in Peterborough as well at the same time. So, the first dibs work is something that I really want to extend upon and do more of, because they come from the physical assemblages. And I wanted to, that was one of the things I wanted to be doing in NFT space, was something around that had a physical counterpart. It's kind of been inspired by the work that you've done with Cyclops, you've got that physical counterpart to it. Because I don't want to stop making physical work.
No. There's something special about it,
yeah. And I think a lot of my physical works hasn't had its time in the sun yet, and I want to, so I do want to do more work in between the generations for Birbs. There's so much stuff that I want to explore and do, and now I have the privilege of being able to spend the next few years exploring and doing that, and doing it on my own terms as well, which is just the best thing about the NFT space, which is finding your audience. It's such an important thing for an artist is to because if you can find your audience that resonates, really responds to what you're producing, that's true to your own self, I think that's really where the rewards come in.
Excellent. Well, thanks for taking some time out from creating assets for Generation 2 to chat to us tonight.
No worries, man. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, thanks for talking to me.